I've seen far too many libertarians lately against price gouging of all things, so let's talk about the economics and the ethics of price gouging. This is episode 49 of the LAVA Spurt, the Economics of Price Gouging. This episode is brought to you by Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom, helping you to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before, for just 24 cents a day.
Welcome to the LAVA Spurt, the weekly offshoot of the lava flow. Channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Brought to you by my per episode donors. Thank you. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
As always tends to happen when there are major disasters, such as Hurricane Harvey, prices of products shift to meet the situation. And whenever that happens, you have people coming out of the woodwork trying to shame and stop supposed price gougers. What makes this current situation unique for me is that I've seen an inordinate amount of, quote, libertarians saying that price gouging is wrong and immoral. I've seen this on forums all over the place on Facebook. This tells me that we have way too many supposed libertarians who have no understanding of economics. Since I've seen this more than I would like, it stands to reason that some of my current listeners may also not understand the economics of prices and supposed price gouging. When I see a need, I try to fill it. So here we go. No matter what the Los Angeles Times may try to tell you, price gouging is not morally and ethically wrong. It is the exact opposite of that. The LA Times has the same concerns and lack of economic understanding as the average person. This has led to anti-price gouging laws in 34 states, including Texas. This anti-free market mentality is not only bad economic policy that ironically can hurt citizens when resources are not efficiently allocated, but it's also morally reprehensible. What fundamentally underlies these laws is the notion that consumers are entitled to certain goods and services, and that the owners of the products being sold have a moral duty to make sure people get those goods and services. As you guys know, no one is entitled to goods or services from someone else, period. Humans are generally self-interested creatures, regardless of how many people would love to think that humans are more altruistic. It's just not true. If someone has the opportunity to sell a product, they want the highest profit that they can possibly get. If Joe has, say, 100 cases of water that he can sell, what makes more economic sense to Joe? To take those cases to Chicago today and sell them for $24 a case, where there are thousands and thousands of cases just like it? Or work a bit harder to get those cases to those in a much greater need in Houston today and sell those cases for $100? I know which one I would do. And hell, at $100 a case, Joe's making so much profit that if he had a needy family or two coming in desperately needing water but unable to afford it, he could give some away. Not all entrepreneurs, of course, would do that, but many would. And not to mention now that Joe's made so much profit that he can go back to where he's from, buy a bunch more water, and bring it right back down to those in need. And this is the point of the higher prices. It gives entrepreneurs the price signals and incentives that they need to make it worthwhile for them to go out of their way and bring in much-needed equipment to disaster areas, even taking that equipment out of areas with a much lower need. Prices convey information, and in disasters, that information is priceless, and it can save lives. Someone in Boston can drink tap water today, or wait a week for a backup generator or a chainsaw. Someone in Houston doesn't have these luxuries because city water is not working in all the areas, and all of a sudden the need for generators and chainsaws has increased dramatically while the supply has stayed the same. The rise in prices in Houston would give Joe the incentive to load up his truck and head back down there and get a much higher profit for his products, like we've already said. Keeping the information from prices flowing is vital to keeping important goods and services flowing where they're needed the most at any given time. But profit goes even further to help disaster relief. The ability to raise prices encourages businesses to stock excess reserves. For example, Walmart actually hires a team of weather forecasters to predict extreme weather events so they can ship extra goods to areas likely to be affected. Walmart does this to make a profit. But the end result is that they ensure critical supplies are available to the public when they're most needed. I imagine that they sent a lot of those sorts of supplies to the Houston area in advance of this disaster, not for fun or altruistic reasons, but to make money for their greedy, self-interested investors. Guys, you know Tom Woods. You know his books. You know his podcast. Now learn what he learned to get where he is today in Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom. Get the equivalent of a PhD in libertarian thought and free market economics online for just 24 cents a day while sitting at your computer or driving in your car. You can get it now at thelavaflow.com/woods. Listening to the audios and watching the videos will load you up with the facts, figures, and other ammunition that you need to feel supremely confident and come out on top when arguing politics or economics with yet another devoted socialist or neoconservative. But I repeat myself. Get a yearly membership to Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom for only $89 a year. Or like me, go for the Masterclass for lifetime access for only $497 and get tons of bonus material as well, including monthly live sessions with Liberty Classroom faculty and 435 audio-video lessons on government and history that Tom created specifically for the Ron Paul curriculum worth $250 alone. Make sure to sign up today at thelavaflow.com/woods to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before. There are other benefits to increased prices when supplies are low as well. For example, without price increases, many people buy extra supplies just in case, regardless of what they have tucked away at home already. This puts even more pressure on supply by allowing unnecessary purchases, leaving those who have a higher need in the dark. Raising prices limits that quite a bit. Allowing price gouging actually encourages citizens to be more prepared for disasters too. Do you have enough food and water and other essential items stored at home for you and your family right now if disaster were to strike your town? Or do you just assume that you'll be able to go to the store and buy what you need when something goes wrong? Knowing that prices might double, triple, or even more during a disaster is a pretty big incentive to go and stock up now instead of waiting. And many people did stock up early. But isn't it immoral to charge ridiculous prices for product just because demand is low? I've heard that argument so many times the last several days. Won't this disproportionately affect the poor? Well, no more than the price of anything already does disproportionately affect the poor. Does the price of a Tesla disproportionately affect the poor? Of course it does. Prices are neither moral or immoral. They're just indicators. Is it more moral to sell water at $24 a case so that one person comes in and buys all of the stock at the low price, whether he needs it or not, keeping it away from those who may really need it? Or is it more moral to raise prices so that only people who really need that product can purchase it? For example, if water were the normal price without being raised due to lack of supply, what keeps people from buying all of the water to wash their dog's ass instead of some water being able to be sold to people who have a higher need for that water, like to keep from dying from thirst, for example? Higher prices makes it much less likely that someone would pay that kind of money to use water for less important uses than its highest use at the time. As Don Boudreaux said at fee.org, there's no denying that people dislike the higher prices. What is deniable is that the higher prices are the problem. They are not the problem, they reflect the problem. Because the problem itself is unfortunate, its distorted reflection will reveal this misfortune. But only by revealing this misfortune as accurately as possible to everyone who can help to minimize its effects will reality be returned as quickly as possible to normal." End quote. Not raising prices, according to the situation, is much more immoral than raising prices to reflect reality will ever be. Remember this the next time someone who has no understanding of economics tries to tell you that price gouging is immoral. And don't forget to ask them who's going to back up the price gouging laws, who's going to bring the gun into the situation. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.